Climate is the average and the extremes of all the weather that accumulates over a 30-year period and longer. So it's the extreme, like the biggest hurricane, the driest dry season, the wettest wet season, the averages, all of that. And weather is the stuff that we're having right now. And this was also weather. But we're having a lot more weird weather in Tucson than we used to. And in California, and in Oregon, and in Maine, and in Washington, and in Louisiana, and in Vietnam, and in Nepal, and in Ethiopia, everywhere on the globe. Climate change is local, so every locality has their own flavor. We get drier when we get hotter. Other places get wetter when it gets hotter. Vietnam is getting much wetter. Too hot to fly. Airplanes were grounded because what happens when air gets warmer? The physics equation is PV equals nRT. You may have hated that during high school or undergraduate school. Yeah, when it gets warmer, it expands. And more expanded air means less lift for the aircraft. It was too hot for the airplanes to safely take off. So Phoenix was closed, the airport was closed. And then this was sometime in June, I forget the date. This was June 21st. This represents the temperature anomaly relative to the 30-year average high temperature. And you probably can't see it, but I'm going to read off some temperatures. Tucson, on this day, 18 degrees above normal. Well, California, 25 degrees, 25, 29, 35 degrees above normal. There were a few colder spots. I would say that's a pretty wicked, wild, extreme weather. And then there were the forest fires. This is smoke from forest fires. I drove through this area and visibility was about 4 blocks. And then things got worse. We heard about the California fires. The fires tended to shift southward over the summer and fall. Forest fires are more numerous and more destructive than ever. This shows human and lightning caused fires. From 1970 through 2012, I believe it is. And you can see that there's definitely, there's ups and downs, but definitely an increase in fires, and especially lightning-caused fires. And this shows, I think we're getting towards the end of the presentation. This might be the end. This shows the dollar value cost in inflation-adjusted terms. So, a dollar, when I talk about a dollar, forget inflation, it's all been adjusted for. These are the dollar values of billion-dollar disasters that happened since 1980. And so the bigger the bubble, the more expensive the disaster. And it's ranked by winter storms, drought and wildfire flooding, tropical cyclones, and severe storms like thunderstorms. And tropical storms is this color. And this was just after Harvey hit, before Irma hit. You can take one of the more dramatic increases also is in severe storms, thunderstorm damages. This would also include things like tornadoes. They don't have, they don't have $100 billion tornado disasters, but there are a lot of billion-dollar tornado and thunderstorm disasters, and they've been increasing. There's a little bit more. On the solution side, renewables, wind is one of them. 6% of our electricity now in this country is coming from wind, but it's the distribution varied, and very logically in this case. This is Tornado Alley. It's just, here's the windy city, and Mount Washington is somewhere up there. These are windy areas, and we have wind power mostly where we have windy areas. Solar, it's a very political distribution of solar energy. And not exactly what I would have predicted. North Carolina, Massachusetts, I get the politics of Massachusetts, why they would be pushing it. But solar being functional in Massachusetts? And look at Arizona. Yeah, we have some. But think about all the sun that we have. Damn it, we should have a lot more solar energy here. Last slide, I promise. The green energy revolution will happen without Trump. This was an article from June 20th, 2017. And this was just the beginning of a wave of opposition to the Trump decision to pull out of the Paris Accord. States were lining up, municipalities were lining up, and this has just grown. And now it's time for more solutions.